Durarara 2. Now, checking out this series recently on Netflix, I really had a great time with it. I think it's such a great expansion to the first series, and it's leading, because this is going to be, there's three full seasons. Season 3 comes out on Netflix on July 1st. I'm super excited to watch that. I'm still going through season 2 currently, but I'm very excited to get to season 3, which I believe is supposed to be the end. So we'll have 4 full seasons of it, counting the first series. But this first season, I really loved it. First off, I like the new song. I think they picked really great songs for this show. I like the opening. I like the ending. Not as much as I like the opening, but I like the opening for sure. And going through with it being, kind of a six months later, taking place after the original series, I was excited to get into this because it's 6 months later in the show. It's been like 5 years since the original series came out, which is why I had to rewatch it. But I had a great time going through this one. It's like, okay, the characters are separated, things are very different, and we get introduced to new characters and stuff. And I'm not going to do any spoilers for this review. I'll just talk about kind of some vague things and mention how I noticed certain things about certain characters, but I'll keep it vague for people who haven't checked it out just yet. And I'll probably end up doing a spoiler video for this because I've been, I just finished my last review for the first series. And I was like, I kind of want to just talk about the whole thing. So I'll probably do spoiler videos for the first series and this first season, probably sometime tomorrow or the day after. But this will be spoiler free, super vague stuff. I'll just mention, certain random things. But going into it and meeting some of the new characters, I really enjoyed. Some of them I knew from the OVA that I saw like years ago on Toonami. So some of the new characters, like the girls, I knew who they were, and I was like, I remember them. Like, it was super vague. I was like, I remember them a little bit, and it's like, I know they're related to somebody in here somewhere, but I was like, I thought it was this person, but that doesn't make sense because he already had a flashback episode and they weren't in it. So I'm like, I know they're related to somebody, and there's some other stuff going on. I was like, okay, so I got reacquainted with the newer characters that were introduced in the OVA, and I got to see kind of how they connect with the characters within the world. And basically, it's kind of like the first series, but just faster, where it's like, okay, here's all the new characters, here's all the old characters. Instantly, and like within 3 episodes, everybody is just like this. And I was very surprised that they did it that way. And I love that. And that's one of the things I love the most about this series. It's so fast paced. It's like one crazy event happens, and then here come 2 other crazy events. Like 18 people are thrown into one situation. It's like, oh, there's like 6 of the main characters, and then here are like some extras that kind of come in for one episode. Some people might stick around for a few or come back a little bit later, and it's just like things just keep happening all at once. The one thing that got me though in this series a lot more than the first one, there were a lot of times I kept getting confused because they jumped through time so much in this series compared to when they did it like in the first one. I kept getting confused. I was like, okay, so this just happened, and then it led to this, and then it would be like, nope, those are 2 totally different things. They just involved the same character. Like there was something with Celti, and she was doing a mission, and then she dropped someone off. And then I was like, okay, so maybe this led to that, and there's an explanation in between. And I was like, oh no, that mission was the end of the day, and then what they showed was actually the day before, or like the morning of the same day. But I just assumed it was like the next morning, but it was the previous morning. I was so confused. There's a lot of stuff where they were just like, and it didn't seem like it was necessary because some of the stuff would be like really minor. It's like that could have easily shown that in the normal span of time. Like, okay, this happened. That was the case she took. But it's a lot of they kind of just amp up the mystery factor of like what's happening here and what's happening there and who the person is during this case or whatever. So I understood why they did it, but a lot of the times, maybe it's just me, but I kept getting confused. I was like, oh, I just thought this led to this, and it's like, oh no, this is day one. That was like 2 days ago, and I was like, what? I didn't know that. Like you wouldn't know that. So some stuff I was able to follow because it was really clear. I was like, okay, Shizuo called some people thieves, and then something blew up. I was like, I'll see that in the next episode, and that's exactly what happened. I was like, that'll show up later. So some stuff, you just know where it's gonna happen, and then other things would be like, oh, she's in this chase, and then it ends, and it's this person, and I was like, that kind of doesn't make sense, but I know there's gonna be explanation in between how it went from this person to her with this person, and then there's technically no explanation because those are 2 totally separate things, and even though I saw this first, and this second, it was more like this. And I was just like, that's really weird because they're so separated. There was really no point in that sort of mystery because there wasn't a mystery in this very specific thing during the chase. There was really no mystery to the drop off that she did, and I was just like, well, why didn't they could have easily shown that in order because it's like, well, it's, I don't know. And I guess that was the point. It was like, here's the picture, and then it leads to the chase, and then it's like, oh, that's from this person, and then we have the drop off, which was actually from that person and not the chase thing. So I got why they did it, like I said, but it just seemed like some of the times they were just jumping through like crazy, and it was specifically with Celti and Shinra, if I'm saying his name correctly. Specifically with the two of them, it was like some of the stuff. It just seemed to jump around way more than it needed to, but still loved it. Still loved the whole first season, and the way it ended. Honestly, I'm going through. Currently, I'm going to be starting episode 6 when I start the show up again on season 2. I'm just freaked out for like one of our main characters. Like it just has me scared. Honestly, the way it ended, and I knew it was gonna happen because I'm like, this person is exactly like this other person, and I said that as soon as I saw them, I was like, I don't like them, and I know it, and I was right. Like as soon as that happened, I was just like, I don't, I don't trust you, and that's exactly how it played out. This other character, one of the main characters, really surprised me though, because I was like, I don't know what you're thinking anymore, because you used to be this way, and then you just flipped. Like I don't know if you're effing insane anymore. I don't think so, but the things they did and just the way they kind of played it out, it was very different. And even in the show, they talk about how different this character is now, and I'm like, I love it because it's really cool, but it also freaks me out. I'm so scared about what's gonna happen. So I'm really loving the suspense that I have just going through season 2 and how everything in this first season kind of led up to that. But I think it just worked out perfectly. Just like the first series, there's a ton of mystery. We get introduced to new characters, and we meet characters that have really big relations to the old characters and stuff like that. And I had a great time with the first season. I really loved it. Great lead into season 2, and I can't wait to finish season 2 and do a review on that, and then watch season 3, which I think it is meant to be like the actual finale to the entire series, and I think that's gonna be great. I might actually go through and read this manga because I love this show so much. But this first season, picking it up, because since I had to go through the whole first series again, it's not like, oh, it's been forever. So I did rewatch the whole thing to make sure I was, kind of in the right mindset. Like I remember everything that happened. But coming back to the show and seeing how they've really kept everything the same, I was worried like some stuff would be so different because maybe the animation would be a little bit different or something like that. But it still looks exactly the same, and it looked good, when it came out back in the day. So it still looks fine. I shouldn't say back in the day when it was only 5 years. But 5 years is a huge difference in, animation quality. But they kept it the same. Unfortunately, it looked good back then. I believe they've done like a little bit extra because, the technology is so much better. So it looks like a tiny bit better, maybe. But it still looks good. They fortunately all the same voice actors. Hopefully, it's the same thing with the Japanese version because I watched it in English since it happened to be dubbed. I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't think it would be dubbed, but all the same voice actors from the original series as well. So I thought that was actually really cool. I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet. Because for one, it was dubbed, which I didn't expect because it was still so new. I wasn't sure if they got on that already. And then two, it's still all the same people, because that can, anything can happen. People can pass away, all sorts of crazy stuff. Maybe they just couldn't possibly do it. You just never know. So I was actually very happy to hear that, all the voices were still the same, unless someone is different and I just didn't notice it. But as far as I could tell, everyone's exactly the same voice. Some of the actors who I actually know as far as other video games and other anime, I know that those are the same people, specifically Steve Bloom. It's like, well, that's obviously him, and some other people that I know as well. But I was glad to hear that the voice actors all came back. The animation still looks really good. The story is even crazier now that they've already had the first series. You wouldn't think it would get crazier again with the same people, except for like one character messing with everybody. Well, with Izai, I can say that because I'm thinking I'm still doing the first review where I don't want to say who characters are, but with Izai messing with people, it still comes back, and he, it still works for him. Although it's much more laid back. It's like as far as what they focus on a lot more, it's really laid back for Isaiah because he's not really focusing on everybody else. And it's like, okay, so he kind of walked away from that. He's on to bigger, crazier things now. But he still put that seed in there fairly early on. And it's like, okay, he did that little bit, and he still has his, his little thing going on with in the chats. And I was like, it's just, I like the way they're doing it. It was just like very subtle. It's like, he still technically, that was him. He still did some of the manipulation, but he's like, no, just to f with them. That's what I'm gonna do. Just tiny little thing, but I'm gonna go on to do really crazy stuff here. So I love the way they played with his character and how not everything is exactly the same as it used to be because things are different. People know about other people, and there's still some secrets between the main characters, but there are a lot of truths that have been found out since the first series. So there's just a lot of extra content going through with both new characters and old, and it's all really freaking good. So I've loved this first season so far. Really loving the second season, even though I'm super freaked out as far as tension and stuff, and I'm sure that'll just amp up, by the end of the second season going into season 3. But really love this season. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one and going into season 2 and stuff like that. I think it was a great pickup going from the original series to this. It just amps it up like crazy, and it's still just entertaining as crap. And it's more characters, and it still works as a great ensemble piece. I always feel like everyone who's it's kind of scaled. Like the most important people get the most amount of time, and it works perfectly. And like some of the less important characters still come in with just enough time. It's like, yep, that's all the time they need it because they don't really get involved in all the really big crazy stuff with the other characters. But they do show up every once in a while to be like, hey, what's happening here? What's happening there? Say hi to this person. Is this happening with you guys? So they like everyone who gets time. They get as much time as they need based on how important they are, or just how awesome they are as characters. Because like Shizuo, he's so detached from most of the stuff. He's only in like he's just in like random things that he doesn't need to be in. But it's just like he's such an awesome character. It's like, yeah, let's just throw him into like the craziest of situations. So certainly love seeing him because it's funny all the time. I recently saw an episode where they showed him as a kid again, and they didn't even remotely ask the guy to change the voice. It was so funny, and it was just him way younger, and it was just like, huh, like a grown man. I was like, that just makes it funny that didn't have him change it whatsoever. But really loved the first season. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. I most likely will do a spoiler video for the whole first season. But if you guys want to talk about it now, just put spoiler tags in the comments below, and I will definitely, go back and forth with you guys about how awesome it was and how much I'm really excited to get through season 2 and officially do season 3. Which, when that comes out, I may or may not do a full season review for that, like every single episode, just because it'll actually be new since the first 2 seasons are fairly well. I guess season 2 came out sometime in January, or like sometimes like close to the end of last year. So that one's much more recent than this first season. But season 3 isn't even out on Netflix just yet, and I know that's still technically super old. If it's coming out on Netflix, it's already been out for a while now. But I'm so far behind, it kind of doesn't matter for me personally. So it's like, well, I might still do it because at least on Netflix it'll be new. So I might end up doing that. With it being summer, I probably will have the time. So I probably will end up doing that once it hits July. I'll do every single episode review for it. And I don't mind that because I love this show so much. But if you guys want to talk about this season with spoilers and stuff, just put spoiler tags. And I will definitely talk with you guys back and forth. Or you can just wait a couple of days for sure. A couple of days max. And I'll be doing the spoiler video for this. And I've officially decided to do it for this as well as the original series as well. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this season. So please comment below. Let me know. And of course, thanks for watching.